go ahead and bring this meeting to order. May I have roll call, please?
Mr. Gerken?
Present.
Mr. Keller is going to be absent tonight. Mrs. McLean?
Present.
Mr. Schneider?
Here.
Mr. Sharp?
Here.
Dr. Smits?
Present.
Mrs. Weingarten?
Present. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you for being here this evening. We don't have the newspaper here tonight.
I know. One time I wanted them here, they're not here.
I'm sure they're watching.
Oh.
It's live recorded. It's live streaming.
It's live
She might be
streaming,
watching it at home.
Hey, Jenny, we hope you're with us this evening from the comfort of your home. So you have before you the minutes from the June 5th regular meeting.
Move to approve.
A motion.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments, corrections? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Gerken?
Aye.
Mrs. McLean?
Aye.
Mr. Schneider?
Aye.
Mr. Sharp?
Abstain, I was absent.
Dr. Smits?
Aye.
And Mrs. Weingarten?
Aye. You have before you the agenda for this evening.
I move we approve.
Second.
Is this the way we
This
want
is
it?
the agenda that we wanted with the changes.
It should be.
I looked at it, it looked to me like what we had discussed, so I think we're good. Okay, if no other questions, may I have roll call, please?
Who gave that a second?
I did.
Oh, okay. All right. Mr. Gerken?
Aye.
Mrs. McLean?
Aye.
Mr. Schneider?
Aye.
Mr. Sharp?
Aye.
Dr. Smits?
Aye.
Mrs. Weingarten?
Aye. We have no special presentations tonight. That's kind of weird, we're on summer schedule, but we do have a couple audience members and opportunity for audience if anybody has anything they want. Okay. We'll move on to board reports. Does anybody have anything they want to share? I've got nothing. All right. Ron, we're going to move right over to Mr. Eccles for your report.
We are having a retirement party tomorrow, lunch at 11:30. The board's certainly invited. We're going to be giving Ron a pat on the back, and also we've got Toby. Toby's going to be coming back with us, and we want to wish him well. So if you're available, 11:30, it's going to be good food. It'll be right here, so please come and join us.
He's really going to do it, huh?
He's like, oh, yeah, no choice now.
There's no sec.
I think it was past the point of
Yeah.
Ron's wife will be here performing tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
You include her in yet, or?
I didn't tell her she was perfect.
We're going to surprise her. As you're aware, CRHDC did not get selected in the round of funding for the tax credits with CHAFA. And after we sat down and had a debriefing meeting with CHAFA and with CRHDC, it became very clear that our chance of going forward, even if we waited another year, that our chance of being selected even in the next round was very, very slim. So that being said, we basically are going to be moving forward with the dissolving our agreement with CRHDC and our partnership moving forward. So the question that always was asked, what are we going to do? What if this doesn't happen? What's plan B? And of course, if we have recently talked and had conversations, we will be looking at some of our alternatives might very well include selling the property with even possible consideration of demolishing of the property. I will contact the newspaper, make sure that gets printed.
Okay.
Property, obviously, we're looking at different options, discussing with the board, and I will keep the board informed as we move forward. We do want to extend our appreciation. There are a lot of people who worked very hard on this project the last couple of years. A lot of community people, put a lot of time, work, and effort in this project moving forward. And even though we didn't get our end result currently, hopefully, will still be that property will still be of value and benefit to our community as we move forward. depending how the situation goes. So, but we do want to thank all those who worked so hard on the project for the last couple of years. That's all I have right now.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, you know, there have been a lot of people who've put in jointly hundreds of hours trying to make something work. So it's disappointing that we didn't make the cut for the grant, but it did sound very dire for our chances in the future. So I think it's challenging when you need the entire support of the city, and the city has other responsibilities and priorities, and it's just not necessarily a viable rehab for, so far, anybody who's been able to pull it together, so.
Yeah, really, the briefing, that just came out several things. It was just a very complex project for Chaffa. Chaffa's very clear, you know, they're not interested in projects for, how should we say, fundamentally for recreational or just like the issue with the first floor, that was still a very vague issue with Chaffa. The overall cost of the project was high for their standards. Just a lot of unknowns, and that was one reason the project didn't get high consideration. So everyone thought it was best to move on and look at other options as we move forward. So.
Okay, well, thank you. Ron, Mr. Flug?
I would point out the typical personnel reports in front of you. Other than that, I have no additional report tonight.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out how many, still have a handful of positions we're looking to fill.
We do, and we have a few late resignations. Hopefully that's done, but who knows?
Okay. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Lee.
Just a couple things, totally unrelated, but we had R3 not sponsored, but we made our facilities available to the insurance pool for a Northeast region roof update, where the pool had their roofing experts here for members of districts over Northeast Colorado, just to get the current scoop on hail and covering and membranes and how you reduce damage. The gentleman from the pool who's been administrating our claim laws for the modulars was here for that event. Got to meet him, might visit on the phone and email many times, and he actually physically brought us a check for about $120,000, which represented the preliminary cash value of the 2 modular at Sherman for the actual destruction of those modulars from the mold issues. Once we actually complete our new wing expansion for the Head Start program with the Head Start grant, they will go ahead and remit us the balance of that. The 2 modules will be about $250,000, and we're still not working on this because it's been resolved. But we'll have another check coming for the cash value for the Pioneer modular, and as soon as we take the replacement of that modular back to the Sherman School with the Head Start edition, the pool gave us the flexibility to do that, so that we'll have another $125,000 for that modular. So we'll come with $375,000 of total claim dollars from those 3 modulars will go into the new project at Sherman, and that'll be our matching component. Excuse me, not matching because there is no match, but that's going to be our couple classroom additions in addition to what Head Start is going to be adding to replace what we lost in the modulars. So we got those, we got the insurance check last Friday, I guess it was, Thursday, whatever day it was. Any questions on that? Just routine component of the transaction. The other thing I just want to give the board an update on the health insurance enrollment process. It's been passed.
Okay, I saw that email right at the end.
We had 3 open meetings, different times for employees. We had roughly maybe 60, 65 employees attend those meetings. We have 348 people currently enrolled in the district's health insurance program. And a lot of questions, a lot of complexity this year. It's good opportunity to get information. Unfortunately, our participation wasn't that great. And as of today, which is a condition of our enrollment for 17-18, which is our employees to enroll and affiliate with Apostrophe Health, which is our concierge service, provides additional things to our employees. We've only had 175 employees sign up, so we're about 50%. The cutoff date was June 15th, which is come and gone. So I'm not sure what the other 175 people are doing.
Was there a minimum number of individuals required to?
No, it's 100%. I mean, we want everyone to be enrolled on that because part of our premium determination going forward is based on them linking up with Apostrophe to help them make the best healthcare decisions and be the wise stewards of their premium dollars and their claims. And so that's a little disheartening. It was 50 employees. And I sent out an email, and that's spurred on a pretty good flurry. And we jumped up to like 173 as of Friday, and 2 more enrolled over the weekend. So, but we're 50%. So I'm a little discouraged about that, to be honest with you, because this is I think a good insurance program that the district has rolled out for the employees, and we're doing that for the employees, and this is a way for them to have better health care at a lower cost and other services, the 24/7 telemedicine issues, second opinion kind of things, assistance with pricing of procedures and quality review and just all those kind of things. So
Is there any disadvantage to the employee for signing up?
I cannot imagine what it would
That's-
be. Everything with Apostrophe would be positive.
That's fine.
Premium assistance health, help with claim payments, denials, everything you want someone to help you with when you've got troubles. So I don't know, that's a head scratcher. I'm really disappointed in that. I was expecting maybe a pretty good flurry over the weekend. People have maybe a little downtime to spend 10 minutes to log in, but that didn't come to fruition, so.
Mike, just a quick question. For staff that are hired now until school starts, whatever, they'll still have the opportunity to sign up for that, right? Because
Say
if
that
we've got,
question again?
if we've got new employees, they could still sign up for it though, right? Like,
Come starting in August?
or, yeah, if they start in August, they'll still have that
Absolutely,
opportunity to
yeah.
sign up.
We do a whole orientation with those new employees and give them all their insurance, because their coverage doesn't start until August when they come on board, and they have a 30-day waiting period. But we do a whole orientation with those new people, but these people are existing.
So the deadline was the 15th. Will they accept late?
Yeah, we can, and technically our open enrollment doesn't expire until the end of the month, but our our payroll for this month is Thursday, 22nd. So we have to solidify all the decisions for your July coverage in June payroll. So the ship is almost sailed. And the fear is will someone miss out, didn't want to add this, or wanted to add this, didn't want to do that. So it's, I'm going to continue on with the employees, what they currently have. If they are an employee and they've done nothing and done no enrollments, I'm rolling them forward with what they have, so they won't be without health insurance. But it doesn't give them flexibility to make the changes that they may want to made, and we're still gonna have to work on our Apostrophe enrollment. Because that's where we link up with them for wellness clinics, and
Oh, it's a
we're
great-
rolling out new benefits out of Apostrophe, and it's just,
It's a great service. Well, hopefully everybody's watching this meeting tonight.
and
they-
maybe another
they,
email, maybe an email from the board president saying,
It's a good deal.
we're spending over $2 million in health premiums for RE3 workers, and this is for your benefit, and we want you to enroll so you'll be financially secure if a medical event occurs. I mean, that's what stands in front of you between medical bankruptcy is your health insurance.
Right. You write it, I'll sign it.
It's a big dang deal.
It is a big dang
So,
deal. Thank you.
So with those downer notes, that's all I have.
Thank you. Thanks. Well, then we're going to hand it over to Rita, who I think has a little more uplifting.
Maybe. So Mr. Ng and Mrs. Garvin and I attended the dual immersion training in Utah, Salt Lake last week. It was just a 2-day training for district administrators. It was attended by there were probably 8 or 9 other states besides Utah in attendance, which was really exciting to meet people from other states who are probably in this very similar position that we are, just starting a program. And so it was really refreshing to talk with just people who are really passionate about immersion, and they have a really strong instructional framework in Utah, as we've known all along. But it was really nice to we got passwords for all of their resources and websites, so we're going to be digging into that later this week. And it was just a really good learning curve about language proficiency targets and just thinking through our schedule and making sure we've made the right decisions moving forward. And then the only other item I have is June has been full of students learning at both Fort Morgan High School and at Pioneer Elementary through the migrant summer program. And so I've been at both places just kind of checking in. And so we've got a lot of credit recovery going on at the high school. And also at Pioneer, there's 50 migrant kids signed up, and they kind of rotate between morning and afternoon. And they're just doing a lot of just acquisition, mostly of language, but also making sure that we're not creating a wider academic gap for over the summer. And then one other piece about summer school, it's not really, it's going on right now, is Kids College through the Gifted and Talented Department, and they've had a really good turnout of kids, and I think the kids are really enjoying it, so.
Where are they hosting that this year?
What's that?
Where are they hosting that this year?
They are at the Fort Morgan High School. And this Friday, just to put a plug in, they have a showcase night from 5 to 7. So all the kids are going to be showing off their learning. And I think there's going to be some really rock band, and you can go taste food and have a good time.
That's great. Thank you. That's great, all the summer programs that are going on. So happy to hear about it. Well, we move on to discussion items. Discussion item A, we have policies on second reading. EFE 1, school meal payments. EFE 2, civil rights complaint procedure for the school nutrition program. EF, school nutrition program. EFC, free and reduced price food services. EFEA, nutritious food choices. And EFEA-E, healthy beverage standards for the schools. These are recommended by CASB. Some of these are required by law. USDA guidance states that the policy, we're not required to adopt it, but we believe that the school meal payments, well, you got it all there. So there we go. So we will be in compliance and ready to answer to these policies. Karen, do you have more to share with me? Because I just fumbled my way through that little.
That's fine.
Say what that-
So there are some choices that will have to be made in these policies, some or statements. And so we'll be working with our food service director this next week, Carol Termolin,
Okay.
and finalizing the choices there,
Okay.
so that when you see it for your
So
approval.
next time we'll have those blanks filled in?
You will, yeah.
Okay.
So we'll make the choices as to, how we're doing our payment situation here and how it will work with our online payments coming up.
Perfect, thank
So
you.
Then you'll have a final one to approve next time.
Okay. Any questions or other comments? Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. You have before you the personnel action report.
Move we approve.
I'll second.
Any questions or comments? Some new names on there. Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Gerken?
Aye.
Mrs. McLean?
Aye.
Mr. Schneider?
Aye.
Dr. Smits?
Aye.
Oops, Mr. Sharp, forgot you, sorry.
Aye.
Now Dr. Smits.
Aye.
And Mrs. Weingarten.
Aye. Okay, you also have before you action items. Action item A, consideration to approve policies upon the third reading. We have the ADF, ADF-R, those are school wellness, IKF, graduation requirements, and IKF2, graduation requirements.
to approve.
I'll second.
I noticed there's some changes from the last reading. Well, I did talk to Rena about it a little bit, but Rena, do you want to? No. You weren't yours, but you kind of talked to me about that.
Sure. Graduate about the
Uh-huh.
completion? Do you want me to talk more about it?
Sure, would you please?
Sure, one of the pieces in, let me pull that up, in the graduation requirements was an alternative student recognition piece, because we do have very rare situations where a student may not meet all of the graduation credit requirements. However, they may also not qualify for special education, as the current policy had stated. And so this year, we did approve a certificate of completion for such student who actually received a certificate of completion at 21 years of age, who did not fall underneath that requirement. So as I spoke with Ms. Davis and Mr. Bauman, to make that allotment, not that we're going to just be passing out a lot of certificates of completion, but at least we have the availability there in those circumstances.
Thank you. And then in the second policy, we have the menu of options, the AccuPlacer, AP, and the other things there. Is there anything? Is that all new from the second reading?
And Mrs. Davis actually, Ms. Davis
Oh,
put that
well then,
together for us, and
Mrs.
she's here.
Davis, would you mind sharing a little bit more about this then, please?
What I have to the graduation requirements is, you had recommendations from CASB as to the various graduation requirements that they were putting forth and that the state had approved. I believe in the fall you had made to abide by the law, you had already approved some preliminary graduation requirements. This is just putting those things that you had already approved in September, that you had already approved for Fort Morgan High School and Lincoln High School as far as graduation requirements into the format that you had already received it in. And so it just kind of condensed everything. And we did swap out ACT for SAT and PSAT because we no longer administer ACT. So we tried to make the policy as reflective and true to nature as what we actually practice.
Okay. Thank you. A lot of information. Any other questions? No? Okay. Well then, roll call, please.
Mr. Gerken?
Aye.
Mrs. McLean?
Aye.
Mr. Schneider?
Aye.
Mr. Sharp?
Aye.
Dr. Smits?
Aye.
Mrs. Weingarten?
Aye. Motion carries. Next is action item B, consideration to approve handbooks. You have before you handbooks from the various schools and programs, as well as memos which outline the changes.
I move we approve.
Second.
Does anybody have any questions about them? Love those memos. They make it easier to see what we have before us.
A lot of reading.
It was a lot of reading. If no further questions or comments, a roll call, please.
Mr. Gerken?
Aye.
Mrs. McLean?
Aye.
Mr. Schneider?
Aye.
Mr. Sharp?
Aye.
Dr. Smits?
Aye.
Mrs. Weingarten?
Aye. Action item C is consideration to approve 2017-18 ESSA Consolidated Programs application.
I move we approve. A second.
Rena, would you like to speak to this?
You definitely want to highlight this. I gave all the great news earlier, so this was not great news for us when we received our preliminary allocation. We are losing approximately, overall, if you look at just the programs that we have typically had in place, we're losing $115,000. The one uptick is we are getting a Title IV allocation of just shy of $14,000, and that new Title IV program under Every Student Succeeds is all about student well-being and well-roundedness. And so I'm not sure that it will last longer than this year, but we definitely saw a decrease in Title I due to the fact that the federal allocation to the state was approximately the same amount, except for they withheld, they went from 4% up to 7%, because they're utilizing the remaining funding from the state level to be targeting comprehensive support schools that really aren't performing very well. Those schools have not been identified to this point. And then the other piece with Title II is we knew we were going to take a pretty severe cut, a loss. So that was, we decreased to over $50,000. So across the board, not great news, because as you know, all of our federal program money goes to salaries and benefits. So we've had to make we've had to squeeze some people in there and look at those pieces. And I apologize, I was not able to print the PDF. CDE is still working with the functionality in the system, but once I do, I'm hoping it's done in the next few days. I'm happy to send you a copy, because along with, we knew it was coming, but there are a lot of narrative questions that are now required under Every Student Succeeds Act, and it worked out really well that we've just done some strategic planning, so I could utilize a lot of the stakeholders' input from those processes, but I will send that. So tonight you just have the assurances. Any questions?
Not the news we wanted to hear about the funding there. Karen, may we have roll call, please?
Mr. Gerken?
Aye.
Mrs. McLean?
Aye.
Mr. Schneider?
Aye.
Mr. Sharp?
Aye.
Dr. Smith?
Aye.
Mrs. Weingarten?
Aye. Motion carries. Action item D, consideration to approve Lincoln High School selection of measures.
Move that we approve.
Second?
Vicki, would you like to share more information about this for us?
Last year, CDE had assembled a work group to look at the alternative campus measures of performance. And AECs are required to select alternative measures that are different than standard school measures. So we're required to do testing in addition to PARCC and CMAS and all of those other things. We administer NWEA 3 times a year to measure both growth and standard testing for our kids. We also have to select additional measures in student engagement and post-secondary workforce readiness. And so we used to be able to select what we wanted. This year we were required to select in each categories. They also reworked how growth and the status of NWEA scores were going to be measured. And so it was tweaked a little bit. And so what you have before you tonight are the measures that we're submitting to the state to be evaluated on.
Thank you. Any further questions? May we have roll call, please?
Mr. Gerken?
Aye.
Mrs. McLean?
Aye.
Mr. Schneider?
Aye.
Mr. Sharp?
Aye.
Dr. Smith?
Aye.
Mrs. Weingarten?
Aye. Next, we will move into executive session for determination of positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, development of strategy for negotiations, and instruction of negotiators, CRS 24-6-402, parentheses 4, parentheses E.
I so move.
Would you like to invite?
Oh, and I would ask that we invite Mr. Eccles, Mr. Lee, Mr. Flug, okay, to the executive session.
Second.
Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Gerken?
Aye.
Mrs. McLean?
Aye.
Mr. Schneider?
Aye.
Mr. Sharp?
Aye.
Dr. Smits?
Aye.
Mrs. Weingarten?
Aye. So we'll move into executive session before we resume the rest of the meeting. So I think we'll go into the conference room.
Yes.
Rena, I didn't know if you wanted to be in there.
No, it's fine. They'll let me know
Okay,
tomorrow.
well, so you're, okay.
I got work to do.
Okay. I figured you probably.
I got Adam Stacy.
I figured you'd probably
Don't
rather
worry.
just hear the answer.
We're gonna go home and relax.
Your recorder, and it's all